Welcome to Loyyal,
a podcast brought to you by D Squares about customer relationships and retention. I'm Yasmin.
And I'm Bob, and on this podcast, we invite world-leading experts to dive into the world of building strong loyalty.
Welcome to Loyyal. This episode is part of our new digital payments mini-series, Beyond the Tap. Digital payments have completely reshaped how we transact. And in this series, we're looking past the utility of transactions to ask whether the way we pay today actually builds loyalty, where true opportunities or threats lie for brands and customers. Tune in and join us as we decode and demystify what goes on beyond the tap. Today's topic and the first of the digital payment series is blockchain. I'm joined by Ashish Kumar Singh, the CEO of Loyyal. Loyyal is a patented blockchain and AI ecosystem that aims to transform the loyalty and payments industry with revenue generating solutions for enterprises and SMEs worldwide. Welcome, Ashish.
Thank you.
Now, blockchain is a very interesting one, especially when it comes to loyalty. The sentiment around blockchain and parts of the GCC, there's a lot of uncertainty and I guess maybe a lack of conviction in what blockchain can provide for loyalty. Some of the questions that are circling is whether blockchain is all hype, is it all PR? Is there any real value for loyalty? So I'm excited to jump into those topics with you and sort of demystify some of the things around blockchain. The question we're asking is whether there's an opportunity for loyalty in blockchain. So let's start with, what was blockchain invented to solve? What was the original use case for it?
I think that's the very relevant question and the very primary question to understand, because what I've seen in my past 12 years of experience preaching blockchain, what I've understood, people still get confused between Bitcoin and blockchain. Bitcoin is one of the use cases of blockchain and not just the blockchain technology inherently. Blockchain was built for the purpose of three fundamental aspects or three fundamental pillars of any technology, which is the technology has to be trusted, transparent, and traceable. That's where there are big audit firms doing audit of the legacy products altogether. There have been instances of frauds and scams where definitely traceability becomes a very key element. And trust is what consumer wants. Trust is where people want to put their money, put their time, put their mind. And this is where blockchain came into picture. Even if we go back to the history of why even Bitcoin was invented, everybody knows it was done because there was a breach of trust by the big institutions. So people wanted to get control of their hard earned money so that they can utilize money, save money in their own capacity. That's where peer to peer concept came, which means the two people can do transaction between themselves. Why they need a middleman? Because middleman brings more elements of trust to be breached. And this is what blockchain has been trying to solve. Now, blockchain as a technology has evolved. Like any other technology, if you even go to the basic science of Darwin's theory, survival of the fittest, there were different blockchains, different technologies around blockchain which has been built over years. But few have survived because they were solving legitimate use cases. They were adopted well by the end users, and they were also built with the governance of how the real world works. And that's what today's status of the blockchain is. While there are thousands of use cases which were perceived or thought initially, today there are few use cases which are very successful. I mean, right in the payment industry, you have the likes of Ripple. Everybody knows Bitcoin has been still being used very frequently. I mean, while they actually cover an economy which is as big as US dollar, then you also have a USDT, a stable coin era. So many stable coins are now being even used by financial institutions. So I think blockchain is well adapted. Definitely, there is a hype curve. There will be good apples and bad apples, but eventually, I think the good apples are doing such a great job for the humanity that blockchain is still treated with due respect and endeavor.
Okay, so you mentioned three T's: transferable, trustworthy, and traceable. And I
Yes.
think those boil down into ownership and trust, reliability, and safety. Those are core concepts that exist within loyalty as well,
Yes.
inherently. And I think it's interesting that when we talk about loyalty programs as a closed economy, points are given, governed, and then expired by brands. So there's sort of a question around ownership of points and how they can be used by customers. And you were talking about the idea that removing the intermediary, so transferring that ownership to the customer. So I think when it comes to blockchain and loyalty, I wonder if it's sort of a natural category for blockchain to exist in, since at their core, both are reliant on value and ownership and trust.
Course. I mean, if you look even again back to the history of blockchain as a technology, blockchain and loyalty have been siblings from day zero. I mean, even in Bitcoin, there is a concept of reward. The other blockchains like Ethereum or even the L2 blockchains, or even the advanced DeFi products which has been built on blockchain, they all have an element of reward. The reward has always been key ingredient of making any technology successful. Now, loyalty industry was built from day zero to make a consumer loyal rather to a brand, because many a times it's not just dependent upon the quality of the brand, but also other freebies or other benefits which can attract more sales. So loyalty was always perceived like that. But when you look in 2025, loyalty is no more about the actual word loyalty. Now it's more about reward. It's about instant gratification, which means you need what you need now. You will not wait for tomorrow, because that's how the world works. The world is moving very fast. There are options available. That's why there has been a big evolution of marketplaces. I mean, people don't go to direct brands, people go to likes of Amazon, because you want choices. So when it comes to choices, you need to reward your consumer right away. So loyalty is a very fast becoming a very fast moving asset. The second challenge is when something is very fast moving, definitely there is a lot of adoption, there is a lot of usage. But with a lot of usage, if there is not an economic benefit to the consumer and also to the program, then there is a problem in that particular use case or the economy of loyalty, which is actually which became a big problem. Loyalty today is such a big industry, but there is a very big problem statement which exists, which is the points liability or the points in
Mm-hmm.
circulation, which means there are all of us as an individual, if we just check our mobile apps, we will be at least having 5 to 10 loyalty apps. In Dubai, there are like 5 7 loyalty apps in every individual. In US, it is 15. If you just accumulate the points sitting in their wallet, it will come around 360 billion to 500 billion dollars. Now that's a point which is not even realized,
Wow.
just in circulation. Imagine the impact. And that is sitting as a balance sheet liability with all the programs. And why consumers are not using it? Because consumers are again not getting their favorite options or favorite usability of the points. So what we are doing today is, in very simple language, making loyalty move like money. If you can
Mm-hmm.
really make loyalty treated like a dollar or a dirham or a real, I mean, that is where the power comes in. So how we do that?
Mm.
We create that gateway. You can convert your loyalty points to a token or to other exchanges or to other programs where you want to really use it. And this ecosystem is what stitched over a technology which has to be trusted. Imagine if a company like Loyal is trying to bring hundreds of big organizations together. They will not trust on Loyal. They will trust on a technology which is really rock solid, military grade, and really built on the pillars of the three T's. And that's why we decided to use blockchain technology, because blockchain is what is helping us, convince the organizations that, okay, join us. It's a decentralized ecosystem. Everybody is there and it will run on its own. Loyal is just a validator or a police sitting beside if there is a problem. Otherwise, the technology runs on its own. And that's what, we are trying to build here.
So blockchain does really challenge that breakage problem, the inability to transfer value. Blockchain challenges that and solves some problems for loyalty when it comes to rewarding, which is a huge core of loyalty programs. So, what are different use cases for blockchain and loyalty? From my understanding, blockchain wouldn't be very useful for simple earn and burn programs or native single brand cashback, for example. So, what sort of models would blockchain fit? naturally right into loyalty.
Blockchain and loyalty becomes a marriage made in heaven. And
Mm.
that's very simple example is that when you are trying to transact between organizations which are different, which have their own rule books or playbook altogether, they will only work together when the technology is trusted. So the first use case what we solve using blockchain in loyalty is the points exchange, and many to many. What does that means is multiple programs, they are all coming together sitting on an ecosystem which is built on blockchain, which means as a member, if I have 5 loyalty apps with different points all together and they all accumulate to $500, but individually they are just like $50, $100 with no perceived value or no actual value to me. Now I have a capability to merge those points, convert those points to my favorite loyalty program or even to a real dollar, so I can cash out my points. And why this is very good for even those programs, because I will lighten their liabilities which are sitting with them, and also it sometimes leads to members stop using the program, so member attrition. So there are various metrics because of which definitely loyalty program will also prefer this use case. The second use case is very revolutionary, which is how you can make a entire vertical, which is today cost center, into a profit center. Now loyalty has
Mm-hmm.
always been sitting under marketing department because it's a tactic which any organization uses once they have already used marketing and social media marketing and campaigning. The obvious organic strategy after that is loyalty, because loyalty is all about giving away points and based on that people come back, so it's a discounting strategy. But eventually it sits under cost center. I mean, you're just giving away your profit or your pie of the share. That's not a very good strategy, because eventually many of the, if you go to the case studies, you will see many organizations who have gone bankrupt because of this strategy, because they just gave away all the 10% or the 20% of their margins on loyalty. What if I can make that entire initiative into a profit center, a revenue generating strategy? That is happening based on two simple principles. One is the brand equity of the organization, which means an organization has a good member base or a program which is rich, people respect it, people love it, but then people don't use it daily because they don't have the option they need. And I bring them all the options where they can actually utilize the same loyalty. This is where the power comes in. And why those merchants are ready to join this program, because they don't have to launch their own loyalty in the first place. Second is they're getting the footfall of the consumer from that program. So it's a good member acquisition strategy for the merchants. And this is the second use case we are solving. So, the parties are happy, they are making money. We are already doing it for a leading oil and gas company here, for a biggest airline in India. So it's again a success story from our side. Why blockchain? Again, when you are talking to hundreds of merchants and tens of programs, and they all have to talk to each other, there is a complicated invoicing, reconciliation, settlement process, real money moving through the ecosystem. You need a trusted technology. So that's where blockchain comes into picture. So this is the second use case we are actively solving in the loyalty industry.
So more sort of coalition programs, merchant networks, and
Yes.
ecosystems. It's really about opening that economy and making it more shareable, flexible.
Yes.
So the value
Yes.
proposition for blockchain within loyalty seems very, very promising. So I wonder, what are the barriers for adoption for blockchain and loyalty?
So the first buyer definitely are the programs who are sitting with big liabilities. I mean, the programs who have good member base, but activity is 10%, the liabilities are increasing, members are moving out of the program, they become our immediate buyers. Because again, we don't sell fear, but we sell an opportunity which they have never seen, which is either they reduce their liability or make revenue from the brand they already own. So they become my immediate buyers. But interestingly, while we were doing this project for the past 3 years with different organizations, we realized that there is a bigger chunk of a market which is sitting with the mid-market SMEs, small medium enterprises. Again, talking about the small salons, talking about small restaurant or a laundry shop, do they, if you go and ask them, do you need a loyalty program for your consumer, they would say of course, yes, why not? I also want to become an MNC tomorrow. I mean, everybody has an ambition. But can they afford a loyalty today? The answer is no. Because loyalty is not about just buying a software. It is about hiring a loyalty manager, also understanding the economics, running the campaigns. And as a single owner who is running a laundry shop, he can't do all that. So that is where we also brought in an agentic AI technology in our ecosystem. Now that technology today for Loyal has been backed by Meta and Microsoft. We launched this particular product which is called Perksy. Now this Perksy is an AI agent which is today available on WhatsApp, Telegram, Kakao, and other messaging apps. What it does is very simple. You just talk to Perksy like an owner of a laundry shop. It will design your program and then it will launch the program and manage the program. So now you have a virtual AI which is becoming your co-advisor, co-founder to run the loyalty for you. Agentic AI knows about the problem as they are solving the loyalty for them. So this is the second, prospect buyer for us, the mid-market SMEs. And while they, consider agentic AI solution through us, they know it becomes a gateway to the bigger ecosystem which we already own, which is, the big programs and the airlines and the banks in different countries. So these are the two immediate buyers for us. One use case which we identified is tokenizing loyalty for the perspective of making loyalty adaptable or embraced by the Web3 community. If you go to the Web3 ecosystems today, which are in hundreds, I mean the gaming ecosystems or the exchanges or the communities, every one of them have some loyalty program running all together, but they are all closed loop. They are all sitting
Mm.
with that ecosystem. What we are offering them is the gateway from the Web3 ecosystem to these real life programs. For example, you have points sitting with Etihad and Emirates and you don't want to fly today, then I'm giving you an option to convert those points to a token, and that token can then be converted into dollar or Bitcoin as well. So this gateway is something which we are building for the end consumer. We already launched it. It's called Loyal Network. And in just couple of days, we are getting very good adoption. People are signing up because here we are solving problem at the root cause, which is the member. We have products which are solving problem for the big enterprises. We have products which are solving for the SMEs. And also we have now an ecosystem which are very much focused for the end consumers.
Okay, so combining blockchain and agentic AI is kind of mitigating some of the barriers when it comes to scale and education, whether that's internally, well, actually more internally for especially smaller businesses, like you were saying, the laundry shop. But what about education for customers? Are customers open to dealing with blockchain, or is there a barrier there?
I think that's a very, very good question, very valid question for people to understand this technology. So when you sell blockchain, you don't sell blockchain. You sell the use case, you sell the impact. I mean, many of the products today run on blockchain technology, but people don't even know about it. So that's what even we have ensured. We are selling a use case. I mean, if you have a power to convert your points from one program to another, or combine the points and buy something in your favorite Zara shop, I mean that is the use case you are interested in. Whether it is built on blockchain or not blockchain is not something you need to worry about, and we have ensured
Right.
that. So blockchain is sitting as the unsung warrior or the hero who is doing the job, but it's not coming in the front and claiming that it's built on blockchain. So that has been our modus operandi, and I think it's going quite well.
Right. Yes, blockchain is supposed to be this sort of enabler and invisible to the
Yes.
customer, not necessarily the front facing, headline making
Yes.
PR product, as long as
Again,
the
it is.
value is reaching the customer.
Yes, yes. Because there is one more aspect to look at. You always have to respect the regulators, the governance, the government, all the institutions. You can't just, breach the basic rules of doing business, which means data governance, data sovereignty, privacy, code of conduct, ethical transaction rules. I mean, you have to ensure that. So while you do all that, definitely, these things eventually organically come in your design of your product. I mean, like I said,
Hmm.
as an enabler and not becoming the highlight of the product and then selling with that name. Because here the product has to be useful enough to be sold itself and not because of a feature or a technology. So that definitely we
Okay.
have ensured. Yeah.
Okay, so is regulation another barrier for blockchain loyalty? Because transferable value in itself does raise a lot of questions when it comes to compliance. Is that something that's in the way or not so much?
See, if you look at all the success stories of blockchain worldwide, most of them are bought by regulators and government. The use cases which are really running and we are really, becoming the success stories, they are driven by regulators. So definitely the destiny of this technology is going to sit with them because it is national initiatives, international initiatives, cross-border initiatives. When the initiatives are cross-border, there is an impact of geopolitical conditions, the economy of every government, the thought process of every government, their IT maturity, their technology maturity. So end of the day, regulators becomes the ultimate buyer. So even in our case, we are trying to do now few initiatives at national scale where we are directly working back with the regulators.
Okay. So looking ahead, what do you think it's going to look like in the future, like the utopia of blockchain loyalty?
So from the perspective of, see, most important, highlight for this question would be the members. I mean, while we can think for the future of loyalty for enterprises, for the SMEs, end of the day, let's focus only on the member because if the member is happy, customers are happy, business, always make good money and they progress. Now, for the member, the future of loyalty has to be that it has to be treated like money, which I said in the very beginning. If I can make loyalty move like money, loyalty treated like a dollar, I mean, this is it. This is the end game of loyalty. Because, like I said, it has a value. It follows the rules of, the economics of any currency, but still it is not treated and given due respect like any fiat currency or even other currencies. So this is definitely going to be the future of loyalty. And that will only happen when, again, like in the world of currencies, you have exchanges available everywhere in every country where you can convert your dollars to euros. And that's where, dollars are accepted everywhere, euros are accepted everywhere. We want to do that for every program as well, every loyalty currency as well. That is the one future we look forward to working together with programs. Second is creating a very unified loyalty currency as well. I mean, while there will be different clusters of programs running worldwide, but definitely there will always be a demand eventually to have a unified loyalty currency which connects all the SMEs or all the mid-market brands who does not want to have their own loyalty, but they want to utilize and create the benefits of reward ecosystem for their consumers, which is exactly like collision program how it works. But collision programs are limited to a sector or a country. If I have to do it at an international scale, at a global scale, again, the technology which I'm using is going to really help me a lot. And that's why that is the second use case of the future where we are, working towards and trying to solve it.
Interesting. I'm excited to see if that comes to fruition. And obviously, you think blockchain is a driver for growth in loyalty. Yes.
Of
Um,
course.
so
Yes.
so blockchain, I think it might take a while for sort of mass market adoption, or especially in the GCC, maybe as well.
Yes.
So it might not be the answer for every loyalty program, also, but it's definitely raising the right questions around the meaning of loyalty and how we can transfer value and the core problems with loyalty programs currently and where loyalty needs to go. So sounds very promising. And thank you so much, Ashish, for all your insights.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very honored to be part of the podcast and good job, creating this ecosystem. I mean, again, a podcast ecosystem of bringing the right subject matter experts because, again, this knowledge will help not just us as a business, but also education to the end consumers. While there is a fast track innovation happening in the real world, people have moved from Google to ChatGPT. We need to also understand the other technology as well. And one of them is blockchain. So, yes, thank you very much for that.